Okay. Our collard greens and ham hocks is cooked. We cook it for like at least 2 hours. 2 hours and a half the most. It's good, guys. Try this one. Soul food. Ham hocks and collard greens. Yummy, yummy. One of my favorites. That's so good. There you go. Sarap. The meat is tender too. See? Off the bone. Sarap. Let's eat collard greens. Try it. It's easy. Boil it. Put seasoning the way you want. And put the collard greens. You could use turnips, mustards, or collard greens. My hubby says he's gonna make cornbread tomorrow, so this is so good. Me, I will eat it with rice. Okay, try it. Hope you like it. Enjoy. Yum. Hello mga KaPinay and KaPinoy. After cooking my collard greens and ham hocks last night, my husband wants to cook cornbread to eat with the collard greens. So he's gonna show us how to cook cornbread, and I am sure, I guarantee you, he cooks good cornbread, right, hon? Okay. Introducing Mr. Joe, my personal chef.
Hello. Cornbread is easy. It's a southern type of bread, a shortbread type bread. No yeast, just baking powder that makes it rise a little bit, and egg. So all the ingredients, you don't have to cook it in a cast iron skillet. I like it's a nice even heat in a cast iron. This is already seasoned. Already seasoned means I've used it a lot, so it doesn't stick. But I still put a little extra oil along the pan just to make sure the cornbread releases easily. Oven is preheated to 425, and usually mix your wet and dry ingredients separately, and then you combine the wet and dry. I have 1 egg that I'll beat lightly. I have a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil.
Let me see. How many?
A 1/4 cup.
Let me see. Here.
A quarter cup. 4 ounces. 4 liquid ounces. 1/4 cup. The recipe is a pretty standard recipe. Calls for milk. This is 2%. It'd be better with whole milk, but 2% is still. Don't use skim milk. So a cup is 8 ounces. So I already had 4 ounces of oil, right? So 4 plus 8 ounces is a cup. Now I have 12.
Yay! Very good mathematics.
So now I have my wet ingredients, oil and milk, my egg, I'll get these out of the way for Tessie to wash later. Mix this lightly, doesn't really matter, just to combine. Now the dry ingredients. The ratio of cornmeal, that's why they call it cornbread. This is yellow cornmeal. White cornbread would be just as good, it would taste just the same, but it wouldn't be yellow. End product would be white cornbread.
So yellow cornbread is what you're gonna use?
I'm using yellow cornmeal to make cornbread.
Oh.
And white flour. This isn't a very exact recipe. It doesn't have to be sifted or exactly measured. It's not like
There's a sifter.
it's It's not like making a cake where everything has to be so exact. Just, you know, approximately a cup of cornmeal. This is yellow cornmeal.
Yellow cornmeal.
About a cup of white flour, plain all-purpose. Not self-rising, because I'm going to add the things that make it rise, which is the baking powder. It calls for a half a teaspoon of salt.
It should be iodized or?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Iodized
matter.
for this recipe, it doesn't matter.
Okie dokie.
Just fine salt, regular salt, table salt, half a teaspoon. And then this particular recipe calls for 4 teaspoons of baking powder. There's a teaspoon measure. Make sure it's not expired. You check your dates. You don't want old baking ingredients. This is very fresh. Usually about a year. You have to buy new. 1. Again, it doesn't have to be to the spec exactly. 2, 3, 4. So, it's dry ingredients, and the last dry ingredients is sugar. This recipe on the box calls for 3 tablespoons, but I learned how to make this in South Georgia when I learned how to cook Southern cooking when I was a chef down there.
3.
And they like a little extra, so I put 4.
Of course, that's right. Yeah,
So-
my soul friends like your cornbread because they said, oh, he makes good cornbread.
So flour, sugar, baking powder. Remember, baking powder is different than baking soda. Some recipes have both, some have one or the other. This is baking powder
Why are you shaking it?
because it makes it easier to, I'm just mixing it. I'm gonna mix it with the wet ingredients. I'm just incorporating it evenly. Doesn't have to be. And then, I've got a big fork here. I could use a whip, I could use a whisk.
Yeah, where's the whisk?
I don't need a whisk. A fork will do. It's not fancy. This is not a fancy recipe. It's a very easy recipe. Again, review. Plain all-purpose flour, yellow or white cornmeal, sugar,
and milk.
milk. The oil I already had in here, pre-measured downstairs in my kitchen. Downstairs. And then you want to mix this thoroughly, but not over mix it. If you mix it too much, it'll get tough.
Oh.
You just want to make it wet. You want to get all of the wet
In the bubbles?
ingredients first. The bubbles are fine. The bubbles is what makes it rise. That's
Oh.
the bubbles is the air. So that's 3/4 mixed. Then I'll take my spatula,
Fold it.
fold it a couple times. If there's a couple white specks, like I said, it all gonna come together in the pan that it bakes. See, there's a little bit of white. That's okay. I'm not whipping it like an egg. This is not a cake batter. This is a cornbread batter. So you don't want to over whip it. Cake batter, you put into a mixer and you mix it like 5-10 minutes till it's smooth. This doesn't have to be smooth. This is rustic. This is a rustic recipe. These are still a little white. No big deal. Most of it's wet.
That's it.
That's about it. It's a hot oven. I'm gonna put it into 425 that I preheated for, you always want to preheat your oven a good half hour ahead of time. You want to get your oven to the correct temperature before you put any baked goods in. That's the very first step. I preheated the oven a half hour ago to 425, which is a pretty hot because I want a crust. The bottom will be crusty, the top will be crusty. And then it's so good coming out of the oven. A little bit of butter. I like it with greens. That's traditional. Greens and black-eyed peas in the South.
Well, we don't have black-eyed peas.
I could have cooked them, but I did not. So here, it looks like this now.
Now we're gonna
Make
put
my
it down.
time. My time is 3:32. So I'm gonna put it in. We're gonna test it. It looks pretty good.
That's after 20 minutes.
22. I knew it'd be another couple extra minutes.
Okay.
So we'll test it anyway. Here's my toothpick.
If it's what?
Dry. We're looking for dry.
It's dry now.
It
Doesn't
looks dry.
stick.
It doesn't stick. And you can see also around the edge. See how separated it is? It's not sticking to the edge of the pan. So then I can turn off my oven.
Now it's cooked. It's cooked.
Well, I think it is. But let's try it and see.
Okay.
So tonight I'll put this on my collard greens. I like it with butter and the collard greens and the ham hocks all mixed together.
No butter.
Just a small piece to test. It's a crumbly bread. First piece is always the hardest to get out, but we'll do better.
Is that solid?
It is solid.
Okay. Ooh, it's
See,
smoky.
brown on the bottom, just how you want it. Crusty. Steaming. I should have left another minute. It wouldn't have crumbled as much. Set in the pan, but just a little butter. Patisse. No,
Patties.
not patisse. Let it melt a little.
Good.
Delicious. Crunchy, sweet, and savory all at the same
Let
time.
me taste it. Yeah, it's sweet. I like it.
Not too sweet, not like a
Yeah.
cake. Like a sweet bread.
Good.
Southern United States cornbread.
This is the cornbread. All right, tastes good.
You can make it in molds. They make it in little corn-shaped
good.
molds. You can make it in muffin pans. If you want cornbread muffins, you can make it in a muffin pan. But this is the crunchy part, my favorite,
Okay.
on the bottom.
All right, cornbread's good. Try it. Thank you. Joe's cornbread. All right. Cook some collard greens and ham hocks, or you could put turkey in there or salt pork, and make your cornbread, and it's all good soul food. Okay, good for the soul. Thank you.